Simple Tales presents The Girl Who Married the Bear, an Ainu folktale. Have you ever wondered whether love can bridge even the greatest distance between two worlds? The forests and mountains often seem separate from our homes, as though nature belongs to another realm entirely. But the Ainu people of northern Japan believed every creature carries a spirit deserving respect. Treat the wilderness with kindness, and it may one day reveal a kindness of its own. This is the story of the girl who married the bear. Long ago, when forests stretched farther than anyone could walk in a lifetime, there lived a young Ainu woman named Aki. She lived with her parents beside a clear mountain river where salmon returned each spring and tall pines whispered through every season. Her family hunted only what they needed. Before taking a fish from the stream or a deer from the woods, they always offered quiet words of gratitude. For they believed that every animal carried a divine spirit hidden beneath its earthly form. One winter morning, Aki ventured into the snowy forest to gather firewood. Fresh snow muffled every sound except the soft creaking of ancient trees. As she crossed a frozen stream, she heard a faint cry. Following the sound, she discovered a tiny bear cub trapped beneath a fallen log. The frightened cub struggled desperately but could not escape. Aki knelt beside it. "It is all right," she whispered. "I will not harm you." Carefully, she lifted the heavy branch. The little bear stumbled free. Instead of running away, it looked back at her with dark, thoughtful eyes. Then it disappeared silently into the forest. Years passed. The cub became little more than a memory. Aki grew into a graceful young woman, admired throughout the valley for her kindness more than her beauty. Many young hunters wished to marry her. She thanked each one gently. Yet somehow none felt destined to walk beside her. One autumn evening, as golden leaves drifted across the river, a stranger arrived at the village. He was tall and calm, wearing garments woven from soft brown fur, unlike any cloth the villagers had ever seen. His eyes were warm, yet strangely familiar. He greeted every elder with perfect courtesy. He helped carry heavy baskets without being asked. When children stumbled while playing, he lifted them gently to their feet. No one knew where he had come from. When asked his name, he smiled. "You may call me Kuma." As weeks became months, Kuma remained in the village. He worked harder than anyone. He shared every meal. He never spoke proudly of himself. Gradually, affection grew between him and Aki. But not everyone was at ease. "He has no family," the village elder said quietly one evening. "No one comes from nowhere." Aki heard the warning. Yet when she looked at Kuma, she saw only the gentleness with which he handled frightened children and wounded birds. One evening, beneath a sky filled with bright northern stars, Kuma finally spoke. "There is something I have wished to tell you." Aki looked into his quiet eyes. "I have wished to hear it." He reached into his coat and withdrew a small, worn strip of leather. It was the same color as the fur of a bear cub. "I have loved you since the day you freed a frightened cub from beneath a fallen tree." Aki felt her heart skip. "You, the little bear." Kuma nodded. "I still remember the warmth of your hands through my fur." The cold of the stream faded, but that warmth never did. He looked toward the dark forest beyond the village. The spirits of the mountains remembered your kindness. They allowed me to walk among humans, but only for a time. My true home still waits there. Aki remained silent. The wind stirred the pine branches above them. She thought of the elder's warning. She thought of the stranger who had no past. Then she looked into his eyes. The same eyes that had looked back at her across the frozen stream, and understood. If your heart has remained the same, then so has mine. The villagers celebrated their marriage with songs, carved gifts, and generous feasts. Even the elder admitted he had never known a gentler man. For a time, happiness filled every season. But one winter night, Aki woke to find Kuma gone. She wrapped herself in a heavy coat and stepped outside. The moonlit snow was undisturbed, except for 2 sets of tracks leading from their door. One was the print of a man's bare foot. The other was the print of a bear. They walked side by side into the forest. Aki did not follow. She simply stood in the cold until both sets of tracks disappeared among the pines. When Kuma returned at dawn, she said nothing, but she watched him more carefully after that. One spring morning, he stood quietly beside the river. The time has come. Aki understood before he spoke another word. The spirits are calling you home. He nodded. They allowed me to live among your people because compassion joined our worlds. But no spirit may remain forever in another form. Tears filled Aki's eyes. Must every happiness end? Kuma gently took her hands. Nothing given through kindness is ever truly lost. He led her deep into the ancient forest. Sunlight filtered through towering cedars. Birdsong echoed softly overhead. At last, they reached a peaceful clearing surrounded by wildflowers. Kuma smiled. I must ask one final thing. Do not be afraid. Slowly, he stepped backward. The wind stirred. His shape did not tear or break. It simply remembered what it had always been, like a river returning to its bed after winter. Before Aki's eyes, the stranger disappeared. In his place stood a magnificent brown bear, larger than any she had ever seen. Its eyes remained gentle, the same warm eyes she had first met beside the frozen stream. The great bear lowered its head, not in farewell alone, but in gratitude. Then it turned and disappeared into the endless forest. Aki stood silently until the last sound of rustling leaves faded away. She returned to her village carrying no sorrow, only understanding. From that day onward, she taught every child what had happened. She reminded hunters to give thanks before every hunt. She reminded families never to waste what nature freely offered. When bear ceremonies were held each spring, the people honored not merely the animal, but the spirit believed to dwell within it. Many years later, children often noticed something curious. Whenever Aki walked alone beneath the mountain pines, a great bear could sometimes be seen watching quietly from a distant ridge. It never approached. It never threatened. It simply stood for a moment before disappearing once more among the trees. The old Ainu storytellers never claimed this was merely a tale about a woman who loved a bear. They believed it was a reminder that kindness offered without expectation creates bonds stronger than fear. When we honor the living world with humility, the living world often answers in ways we may never fully understand. Thank you for listening to Simple Tales. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more timeless tales from around the world. Until next time, may your kindness always find its way home